What are things racist people do that they don't think is racist?
Hey guys, Renegade Sigma here. I came across a video a few days ago on TikTok of a guy who was telling a story of a situation he had in Tokyo. There are a few things that I had issues with what he was saying, with what he was implying, and the comments on that video weren't exactly the greatest either. A lot of it was coming from just the reaction of the video, not exactly a reaction of why things are a certain way in Japan. So I wanted to kind of break down that video, explain a few things, not necessarily change people's minds, but at least kind of inform people why things are a certain way in Japan. So let's watch the video and we'll go from there.
I'm a black dude that has lived in Japan for 16 years. A while back I went on a date with a Japanese girl and we went to a club in central Tokyo. We waited for about an hour before we finally made it to the front of the line. When I approached, the bouncer took my ID and looked at it for quite some time, pointing his light first at the ID, and then back at me. I'm like 34 at this point in time, so I knew that if I didn't get in, it wasn't because I didn't make the legal age. He told me to get off the line. I walked off without arguing. To be honest, I wasn't surprised. The bar wouldn't let me in because I wasn't Japanese. This has happened to me a million times since I've lived here, so at this point I'm pretty used to it and it doesn't upset me anymore.
Okay, so he's lived in Japan for 16 years. He understands why he was turned away, which is why he says he wasn't surprised when the bouncer told him to get out of line. I'm assuming he knows why he was turned away, and for those who don't, it's because a lot of these businesses in Japan, especially central Tokyo, have signs that say Japanese only. And the reason for that is because those places don't have staff that can speak another language. And even if they do have staff that speak another language, the odds of them being able to speak every single language of every single tourist that comes to Tokyo is highly unlikely. So a lot of these businesses and these establishments will simply just say Japanese only because these places don't want to cause any kind of issues. They don't want to deal with miscommunication. They don't want to potentially have a situation that may cause some trouble for that business or for the staff or for the people that go to that place. So they just simply say Japanese only. That's the reason why. It's just to prevent any kind of miscommunication.
However, the girl I was with got really upset. Despite me getting off the line in defeat, she argued with the bouncer for quite some time. However, unable to change his mind, we gave up and settled for heading to another bar down the street. After we were rejected from the club, she said something along the lines of "I don't know why they wouldn't let you in. You were with me. I'm Japanese. All I was thinking was you're kind of missing the point. Can you imagine if a white and black dude went to a bar together in the United States and they don't let the black dude in and the white guy says I can't believe they didn't let you in. You're with me. I'm white. Ridiculous."
I don't like that comparison at all. He's been in Japan for 16 years. He said he's had this happen to him a lot. So I would assume by now he would know why certain places have a policy that say Japanese only. So for him to make a comparison like it would be in the States is ridiculous. He knows better than that. That's why I don't like the comparison, and I don't really understand why he would make that comparison in the first place.
We got to a random bar down the street when I saw a sign, in Japanese, that said Japanese only. At this point I was annoyed. They didn't even attempt to hide it this time. I called the cops and when they came I complained to them in Japanese so they would see that I wasn't some tourist. The cop nods as if to say I understand your frustration. Thinking I've made some progress, I let out a sigh of relief. Instead of letting me in, the cop said in a super friendly tone, "Well yeah, the sign says Japanese only. And you're not Japanese. What is the problem here? There's another club down the street that allows foreigners. I like that one myself. Why don't you go check that one out?" I just stood there, in utter shock. The problem had completely blown over the cop's head. Japan is so inherently racist and xenophobic to the point that they don't even know that they are racist and xenophobic.
So he's been in Japan for 16 years. He's dealt with this a lot, as he said. And he just got turned away from a club that he claims turned him away because he isn't Japanese. And he went to a bar that has a sign that says Japanese only. And after being in Japan for 16 years and being around Tokyo for most likely the same amount of time, why is the sign that says Japanese only suddenly surprising and shocking him? If you go to Tokyo as a tourist or foreigner, you're going to see a lot of places that have signs like that or will tell you Japanese only. So for you to be in Japan for 16 years and you're just now getting shocked and surprised by this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And what exactly is calling the police going to do for you? Do you think that they're going to take your side and demand the business serves you? You've been in Japan for 16 years. You said you dealt with this a lot. This clearly isn't the first time for you. But this is the first time that you've called the police on a business because they won't serve you? I don't understand how that's going to help you. The police officer was trying to be nice. He was suggesting a place that he actually enjoys. Said you might have a fun time there because they actually do serve foreigners. I don't see that as an issue. Yeah, it went over his head. He may not understand why you would consider it a problem. But for him, he just sees it as a business practice. It's not that he's racist or xenophobic or that he's just fine with it. It's just a business practice to them. And you've been in Japan for 16 years. You know better than to say stuff like that. You should know how it is by now. So that's a dumb claim to make that Japan is racist and xenophobic because a certain bar in a club wouldn't serve you.
It's just normal behavior to them. But for some reason everybody loves Japan and they somehow get a free pass on it. Full disclosure, I ended up marrying the girl that I went on a date with that night. Now, anytime my family visits from the States, we have a cookout. Each time I invite her family, I joke that I would consider letting them in, because I'm black and she was with me.
So, great thing is that they got married. Happy for them. Don't really think it's a good idea to make fun of Japanese culture in front of her family, because they might not appreciate it, and they will probably be very upset. However, congrats. Overall, the whole story in general, I think is ridiculous, and it's very irresponsible as somebody who lives in Japan, who has lived in Japan for almost 2 decades, to make claims like this. Because there's a lot of people that are going to see that and just automatically assume, oh, Japan's just a terrible place, that they're just terrible people. That's not the case. They have reasons why they do things like that, which is why I took the time to explain and make this video in the first place, because people have already assumed that Japan is racist and that it's a terrible place to be. The biggest reason I can give for Japan being a certain way towards tourists is because of people like Logan Paul. If you look at some of the things he's done, including his travel blog, it is not good. It is shocking in a really, really bad way. The biggest thing he's known for is the suicide forest in Japan. When he went to the forest with his buddies, they saw a dead body and they were laughing, they were giggling, they were pointing at it, and the family of that person were rightfully furious with Logan Paul and his buddies. And that's the thing he apologized for. But if you watch the rest of his blog, it is very, very bad. Now, to finish off this video, because it's already a long time, I'm not saying Japan is perfect. Japan has a very large amount of social issues that they still need to figure out. I'm simply saying that this situation in particular is not what he made it out to be. And people need to have a little bit more of an open mind when it comes to things like this. People who are watching this video, if you haven't been to Japan, please visit Japan. It is a very nice country to go to. The food is very nice, although I'm not a big fan of raw fish. But you will like a lot of the shrines, beaches, cities. There's a lot of good places to go. So I do hope that if you do decide to visit Japan one day, just please keep an open mind. Learn a little bit of the culture and the language before you get here. And I promise you'll have a good time. Wish you all the best, and I'll see you guys next time.